Welcome back to Black News Tonight. With Election Day just a few days away, the early 8.5 million residents of the United States' largest city could have our next guest as their next mayor. Democratic candidate Eric Adams has gained major backing from New York Governor Kathy Hochul and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. Adams is not only the frontrunner candidate to lead New York City for the next 4 years, but the 22-year police veteran turned Brooklyn borough president is also looking to reform NYC during and after the COVID-19 pandemic. Joining me now is the man himself, Democratic nominee Eric Adams. Sir, welcome to Black News Tonight.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate being on your show.
Talk to me, first of all, how are you feeling going into Tuesday?
Steady. Mother used to state, don't go too high, don't go too low, just maintain a steady course because life is full of ups and downs. And if you ride the emotion, you won't, stay focused on what you're attempting to accomplish. So the same steadiness I had when I announced to run is the steadiness I am feeling after the primary and going into the general election.
When you think about the top issues facing New Yorkers at the moment, what would you put in the top three?
Public safety. Public safety and justice is the prerequisite to prosperity. I believe we could have the justice we deserve and the safety we need. Then education. Education is the contributor to many of the problems we're facing in this city and across the country. There's a real feeling that Black and brown and poor people have been abandoned by the educational system. And when you look at Rikers Island, our jail, 80% of the men and women there don't have a high school diploma or an equivalency, and 55% have a learning disability. So the crime is not only what happens on our streets, but what's happening in our educational facilities every day. And third, the economy. We must get people employed and working. That's the best anti-violence program is a job. And I must build the economy and really end the inequalities that we're seeing in the city every day. And those are the three areas that I'm focusing on. And if I am allowed to give a force, is the siloing of government. Cities are made up of agencies. And if our agencies are siloed and they're not producing a good product, then taxpayers are being betrayed. And those are the areas we're going to focus on.
Talk to me a little bit about this public safety and justice issue that you raise as, frankly, maybe the number one issue. Many people have complained about police violence. Many people have complained about police abuse of power. Many Black folk, as you know, are very concerned with how the NYPD has functioned for decades. What are you going to do different?
Well, what's interesting is that we have never properly defined the ecosystem of public safety. We believe public safety is only the person with the gun, the badge, and uniform, when in fact it's not. Public safety must include our young people, must include those clergy and religious leaders. It must include our crisis management team, our mental health professionals. And so what I'm going to do is bring a new ecosystem of public safety and ensure that we have a combination where all voices are being heard. And then I'm also going to raise the standard. I'm going to have the backs of my officers, and I'm going to let them know that they are going to be able to do their job in alignment with the community. But darn it, if you think you're going to violate the public and you're going to remain in that uniform, that is not going to happen. It should not take 4 years to get rid of an officer. So
what does having their back look like? What does it mean to have their back then?
When they go to the scene, someone is in a grocery store, something that we're seeing all over the city. Someone walks into a supermarket with a garbage bag and empty the shelves. And a police officer responds and arrests that person. That's what he's supposed to do. Now, what I'm going to do at the precinct is different. Instead of putting that person in jail, I'm going to give that person that is stealing, I'm going to give them a mental health professional. If they're dealing with that, I'm going to allow them at the scene, find out why you're stealing in the first place. What are you missing? Why do you committing petty crimes? But I'm not going to hold that officer as doing something wrong because he carried out his duties of arresting someone that's committed shoplifting.
Of course. Now, in fairness, most people who are protesting police misconduct aren't protesting arrests for shoplifting. They're protesting excessive force, violence, unlawful shoots, etc. Do you support the idea of a civilian oversight board or a civilian review board of police?
We have that now. We have a CCRB, and they conduct the investigations.
But it's being pushed back against. Just to be clear, I apologize. What I'm saying is I know that it exists. Many police officers are pushing back against it. I know you say you have the police's back. So my question is, do you support that the existence of this board itself?
Without a doubt. And if your viewers would just Google who I am, from starting 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement Who Care, from being arrested as a child and assaulted by police officers, for testifying in federal court, to reverse the abuse of stop and frisk, going to Albany, writing laws to end quota systems, writing laws to end the database that held innocent people in there. That's what I cut my teeth on, and that's what I am known for. That's my life work, of fighting against what these officers are pushing back against. And again, we could have the justice we deserve and the safety we need. And I'm consistent about that, because just as I marched in the Black Lives Matters march, I also marched with the family members that lost loved ones to gang violence. And guns are killing our young people every day.
Absolutely. What do you say to the firefighters and frankly some police officers, but I'm thinking specifically of the firefighters right now, who are refusing to be vaccinated? What's your message to them?
Well, I think the mayor should have handled it differently. I would have communicated with the unions. I'm a big believer in credible messengers to speak to the people who respect them. I would have sat down with all the unions, not only the firefighters and the police officers, as well as the almost 350,000 employees we have here in New York City. And we would have reached an agreement on how to get the team vaccinated. Now, are we going to have 1 or 2% who are not going to do it no matter what you say? Then we need to hold them accountable for it. But we know the most potent weapon against COVID is the vaccine. And I saw what happened on the ground when our family members were losing loved ones, when we saw our city devastated and our economy devastated. We can't go back to that. We have to have a public that's vaccinated.
Mr. Adams, why do you want to be mayor of New York City?
I believe cities have betrayed the public. And I believe New York City is representative of that betrayal. I went through my entire public school experience being bullied and called the dumb student, the D student they used to call me. And finally, I got into college in a remedial course and heard a documentary on learning disabilities and learned that I had a learning disability. I could have easily hit the streets and I could have become part of the problem that we're seeing. I know that if you look at our cities across America, what we're experiencing in Brooklyn, we're experiencing in Atlanta, Detroit, South Side of Chicago, Los Angeles, we have basically abandoned everyday people. And I like to borrow from Archbishop Desmond Tutu. We spend a lifetime pulling people out of the river. No one goes upstream and prevent them from falling in the first place. Who we are pulling out of the river are Black and brown and poor people. And I believe as the mayor of the city of New York, I could take my city upstream and stop having people pulled out after a tragedy, but we could prevent these tragedies.
Eric Adams, thank you very much, and best of luck next Tuesday.